Imagine this. What if everything you believed about intelligence, its promise, its prestige, its supposed gateway to a better life, was turned upside down? What if genius wasn't a blessing at all, but a curse? A burden so heavy it stripped away joy, peace, even the will to live? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may never look at intelligence the same way again. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of history's most provocative and misunderstood philosophers, held a view so unsettling it still unsettles thinkers today. He believed intelligence, far from being humanity's crown jewel, was a double-edged sword, capable of lifting us to rare insights, but just as capable of plunging us into despair. The brighter the flame of understanding, Schopenhauer argued, the darker the shadows it casts. Intelligence, he said, sharpens our awareness, but also deepens our sensitivity to pain, futility, and impermanence. The more clearly you see life, the more you also see its flaws, its absurdity, its endless suffering. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the more you understood the world, the more alienated you felt from it? That's exactly what Schopenhauer meant. An intelligent mind pierces through the illusions, the lies we tell ourselves to make life bearable. It sees the vanity of chasing desires, the emptiness of shallow success, and the inevitability of loss. And yet this clarity comes at a cost. What comforts the simple often leaves the intelligent restless and unsatisfied. Where others find contentment in routine or distraction, the thinker often finds only hollowness. But Schopenhauer didn't say intelligence was bad. He saw its value, only warned against mistaking it for the key to happiness. Because happiness, he argued, is not born of intellect, but of peace. And the curse of intelligence is precisely its refusal to be still, its endless need to analyze, to dissect, to search for answers even where none exist. So what do we do with this double-edged sword? Should we dull it? Suppress it? Abandon our pursuit of knowledge? Schopenhauer's answer was not to destroy intelligence, but to master it. The antidote, he said, is tranquility, a cultivated calm that accepts suffering as inevitable, rather than endlessly resisting it. Second, we must recognize the limits of our understanding. No matter how brilliant we believe ourselves to be, there will always remain mysteries beyond our reach, questions without answers. Accepting this truth can free us from the exhausting chase for absolute certainty. And finally, Schopenhauer urged us to seek meaning not in grand achievements or intellectual triumphs, but in the fleeting, fragile moments of beauty and connection life places before us. A sunset that stops us in our tracks, a melody that lingers in the heart, a quiet conversation with someone we love. These are treasures that no amount of intellect can improve upon. But here's the twist. Schopenhauer went further. He believed the highest form of tranquility comes not from satisfying the self, but from letting it go altogether, the very self that craves knowledge, control, and permanence. This radical idea, drawn from Eastern philosophy, especially Buddhism, suggests that by transcending the ego, we can escape the endless cycle of desire and suffering that intelligence so often magnifies. So what does this mean for you? Ask yourself, has your intelligence or your restless drive to understand ever made you more anxious than fulfilled? Have you ever wished you could silence your thoughts, even for a moment, and simply rest in being? Share your reflections in the comments below, because this is a conversation worth having. And remember, we've only scratched the surface of Schopenhauer's secret about intelligence. What comes next may not only change the way you see your mind, but the way you see existence itself. To understand this, we must explore a core principle of his philosophy, the will to live. For Schopenhauer, the will to live is the blind, relentless force driving all existence, a primal urge to survive, to reproduce, to strive endlessly, regardless of whether it brings happiness. It is irrational, it is merciless, and above all, it is indifferent to the suffering of the individual. In his words, we are slaves to the will, caught in an endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. Here's where intelligence sharpens the tragedy. A less reflective person may live in harmony with the will, chasing desires without questioning their meaning. But for the highly intelligent, awareness becomes a curse. They see through the illusion. They recognize the futility of chasing one desire after another, only to be left empty once it is achieved. This clarity creates distance. How can one truly connect with others who find satisfaction in shallow pursuits when you see the darker, deeper truths beneath them? The intelligent mind becomes an outsider, an observer of life rather than a participant, burdened by insights most will never confront. And yet, here lies the paradox. Schopenhauer also believed that the very intelligence which isolates us can lead us beyond the tyranny of the will. The key, he argued, is found in art and contemplation. Art, for Schopenhauer, is not mere decoration. It is an escape. When we encounter art, whether through music, literature, or visual beauty, we step into a state of pure perception. In those moments, we are no longer bound by desire or consumed by striving. We simply see, we simply feel, we simply exist. Music in particular, he saw as the highest form of art, a direct expression of the will itself, bypassing words and intellect to speak to something deeper, something primal. Unlike other art that imitates fragments of the world, music flows straight into the core of our being. It offers, if only for a moment, freedom from suffering. Think about a time you were overwhelmed by a piece of music, a painting or a story. For that instant, the chaos of existence fell silent. You felt lifted, connected to something timeless, something greater than yourself. For Schopenhauer, these were not just passing pleasures. They were glimpses into a deeper truth, moments of transcendence that pointed toward liberation. Pleasures, Schopenhauer believed, are not just fleeting distractions, but profound opportunities, moments when we step outside the cycle of suffering and glimpse a higher truth. But he went further. Intelligence, he argued, can be used not only to see the world more clearly, but to cultivate a state of detachment, a practice he called quieting the will. This meant pulling back from the relentless striving and endless cravings that dominate human life, and instead embracing acceptance, simplicity, and tranquility. By quieting the will, we loosen the chains of constant desire and free ourselves from the endless loop of craving and disappointment. Easier said than done, of course. In a world that glorifies ambition, achievement, and the ceaseless pursuit of more, the idea of stepping back feels almost heretical. Yet Schopenhauer's wisdom cuts through the noise. True fulfillment doesn't come from gaining more, knowing more, or controlling more. It comes from letting go. Letting go of desires, letting go of expectations, and perhaps most difficult of all, letting go of the need to explain everything. So let me ask you, have you ever felt crushed by the pressure to achieve, to always climb higher, to constantly prove yourself? What if the solution isn't to push harder, but to ease up? What if the secret to happiness lies not in adding to life, but in subtracting from it? Think on that for a moment, and feel free to share your reflections below, because this is not just philosophy, it's a conversation worth having. As we move forward, we'll see how Schopenhauer's insights didn't end with him. His ideas have echoed through psychology, philosophy, and even modern thought, shaping how we understand the mind today. There's a reason his work has endured, because it speaks to the timeless struggles of the human condition and offers a path to peace that is just as relevant now as it was 2 centuries ago. And here's the paradox. While Schopenhauer's vision may appear heavy, even pessimistic, it ultimately points to liberation. For by uncovering the hidden costs of intelligence and learning how to quiet the will, we can arrive at a clarity and serenity that few ever reach. But how do we bring these ideas down from the lofty realm of philosophy and into the practical struggles of daily life? How do we apply Schopenhauer's wisdom in a way that transforms our relationship with intelligence itself? This is where things get interesting, because Schopenhauer believed the path to liberation begins not with action, but with awareness. Recognizing how the will operates in us is the first step. Most of us spend our lives chasing desires, wealth, recognition, success, believing these things will grant us lasting happiness. But as Schopenhauer warned, satisfaction is always temporary. The moment one desire is fulfilled, another takes its place, trapping us in an endless loop. Breaking free requires a radical shift of perspective. Instead of racing endlessly toward external goals, turn inward. Begin to observe your desires without judgment. Ask yourself, why do I want this? What am I really seeking? More often than not, you'll find your desires rooted in social conditioning, fleeting impulses, or the restless chatter of the will, not in any true need. This awareness is the first crack in the cycle. But awareness alone isn't enough. Schopenhauer insisted on cultivating mindful detachment. That doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means learning to live fully without being consumed by the chase. One way is through meditation or quiet reflection. By sitting in stillness and simply watching the flow of thoughts, we create space between ourselves and the endless demands of the mind. Over time, this space becomes a refuge, a calm center from which life looks less chaotic and more manageable. Another tool he valued was immersion in art and philosophy. For Schopenhauer, these weren't mere diversions, but lifelines, gateways to transcendence. Great works of music, literature, or philosophy, he believed, lift us beyond the grasp of the will, giving us a taste of freedom and reminding us of truths deeper than our daily struggles. When you lose yourself in a symphony or disappear into the pages of a profound book, you are touching a rare state of transcendence, a brief escape from the chaos of daily life, a glimpse into something eternal. But Schopenhauer's philosophy didn't stop at the individual. His insights carried deep implications for how we relate to others. One of the hidden costs of intelligence, as we've already explored, is isolation. The more intelligent a person becomes, the harder it often is to feel understood, to truly connect. Many highly intelligent individuals drift into loneliness, misunderstood by those around them. Schopenhauer's answer was deceptively simple, yet profoundly radical. Cultivate compassion. True connection, he argued, comes not from shared intellect, but from recognizing the shared suffering that binds all beings. When we see others not as rivals or obstacles, but as fellow travelers struggling through the same difficult journey, our perspective shifts. Compassion doesn't require you to suppress your intelligence or lower your standards. It asks you to use your understanding to bridge gaps, foster empathy, and build relationships rooted in authenticity rather than superiority. And then comes one of Schopenhauer's most controversial and most powerful ideas: renunciation. He believed that the ultimate path to liberation is found in letting go, not only of our desires but of the ego itself. This concept, heavily influenced by Buddhist philosophy, is unsettling but transformative. The ego, the endless craving for recognition, control, validation, is the very root of our suffering. By loosening its grip, we open ourselves to a deeper peace. Renunciation, however, does not mean abandoning life or withdrawing into nothingness. It means approaching life with detachment and humility. Instead of clinging desperately to what we want or resisting what we fear, we learn to accept things as they are. And in that acceptance, Schopenhauer believed, lies the highest form of wisdom, the key to true freedom. Now let me ask you, how much of your energy is wasted in worry over the future or regret over the past? How often do you fight to control what is ultimately uncontrollable? Imagine what it would feel like to set down that burden, to stop resisting, and simply allow yourself to be. That is the kind of freedom Schopenhauer points us toward. And here is the paradox. While his philosophy is often branded as pessimistic, it is, at its heart, profoundly empowering. By confronting life's harsh truths instead of hiding from them, we gain access to a deeper, more authentic kind of happiness. A happiness not tied to circumstances, achievements, or fleeting pleasures, but rooted in acceptance, understanding, and the quieting of the will. As we near the conclusion of this journey, we must ask, what does it truly mean to live an intelligent life? Schopenhauer's answer may surprise you. True intelligence, he believed, is not about accumulating knowledge, solving problems, or dazzling others with brilliance. It is about wisdom. It is about seeing existence as it truly is, its light and its darkness, and finding peace within it. So as we wrap up this exploration of Schopenhauer's hidden secret about intelligence, I leave you with this thought. Intelligence is a gift, yes, but also a responsibility. What you do with it, whether you use it to chase fleeting desires or to cultivate lasting wisdom, will shape not only your life, but the depth of your being. If these ideas resonate with you, share your reflections below. Have you felt the blessings or the burdens of intelligence in your own life? Let's continue this conversation because these are questions powerful enough to reshape how we see ourselves and the world. And remember, as Schopenhauer taught, the greatest truths are not always found in what we achieve, but in what we learn to let go of. Now let us gather the wisdom we've uncovered and turn to the final step. How Schopenhauer's insights can transform not just our perception of intelligence, but the way we live our lives. Schopenhauer's philosophy leaves us with a stark but liberating truth. The pursuit of knowledge, though noble, does not guarantee happiness. Instead, it brings us face to face with life's suffering and impermanence. But paradoxically, that very awareness opens the door to transcendence. To live wisely, to live intelligently in Schopenhauer's sense, we must embrace principles. First, acceptance of life's duality, light and shadow, joy and suffering. To resist one is to misunderstand the other. Every moment of joy carries within it the shadow of loss, and every sorrow conceals the seed of growth. By accepting this duality, we learn to move through life with balance and equanimity. Acceptance does not mean surrendering or becoming passive. It means engaging with life fully, but without illusions. When you stop expecting life to deliver unbroken happiness, you free yourself from unnecessary disappointment. You learn instead to savor the fleeting moments of peace and beauty, knowing they are precious precisely because they do not last. 2. The art of detachment. Detachment was one of Schopenhauer's central themes. He believed much of our suffering comes from clinging to desires, ambitions, relationships, even to our very identities. Detachment does not mean abandoning these things, but learning to hold them lightly without letting them define or enslave us. Imagine holding a butterfly in your hand. Grip too tightly and you crush it. Hold it gently and its beauty remains. This is the essence of detachment, learning to love and appreciate life without being consumed by it. 3. The pursuit of higher meaning. For Schopenhauer, art, philosophy, and reflection were not luxuries but lifelines. They were tools that allowed us to rise above the endless demands of the will. When you lose yourself in a symphony, when a novel carries you beyond yourself, or when deep contemplation stills your mind, you are not escaping life, but enriching it. You are touching something timeless, universal, sublime. In those moments, you transcend the narrow boundaries of the individual and glimpse eternity. 4. Compassion as the highest connection. Among Schopenhauer's most profound insights was the power of compassion. To recognize the shared struggles of all beings is to open ourselves to a deeper sense of unity. Compassion dissolves the walls of isolation that intelligence often builds. It allows us to step beyond our own experience and extend kindness, empathy, and understanding to others. And when we act with compassion, we do not only help the world become less harsh, we transform ourselves. We become part of something greater, a little more human, and a little more whole. 5. Quieting the mind and the will. The ultimate aim of Schopenhauer's philosophy was not escape, but peace. A peace born from stilling the endless cravings of the will. Practices like mindfulness, meditation, or simply sitting in nature allow us to touch this stillness. Picture yourself beside a silent lake, watching the water mirror the sky. In that moment, your mind is quiet, your heart is light, and the world feels whole. This, Schopenhauer believed, is available to us all, if we learn to quiet the will. And so we return to the question we began with: is intelligence a gift or a burden? The answer, as we have seen, is both. Intelligence can isolate us, unsettle us, and expose truths we might rather ignore. But it can also elevate us, liberate us, and connect us to the profound beauty and mystery of existence. The choice is ours. We can allow intelligence to become a weight that drags us deeper into suffering, or we can transform it into a tool for growth, compassion, and transcendence. Schopenhauer's wisdom reminds us that true greatness is not found in escaping life, but in embracing it fully, with all its contradictions. So as you move forward, pause to reflect. How will you use your intelligence not just to analyze the world, but to transform your experience of it? How will you quiet the restless will and cultivate peace? And perhaps most importantly, how will you connect with others, not in spite of your intelligence, but through it? If these ideas resonate with you, share your thoughts, your questions, and your own journey of self-discovery below. Together, we can explore the deeper truths that make life not only bearable, but meaningful. And remember, as Schopenhauer taught us, the greatest insights often lie in paradox. Intelligence is not just a burden, it is also a beacon, a light guiding us toward a deeper, more authentic way of living. Thank you for watching.